That's a 10.
A 10?
I have bad charisma.
You're not trained in religion? Oh, is it?
I'm trained in religion, but it undoes the bad charisma.
Here's what's frustrating about Plaid, is you know that you're right. You know. You can quote the book that lays out the regulation about why Aethars can't have prostitutes brought into the cathedral. They're allowed to get married. They're allowed to keep paramours. Sex is not frowned upon by the Aetherine Church. But no matter how right you are, whenever you're debating with Plaid on this issue, he just runs circles around you and makes you question, maybe I'm not right. And it's only later when you get back home and you pull out the book yourself.
Wait a second.
That said, he doesn't push you too far, but you notice that after that encounter, he does withdraw from you a little bit. And for the next couple of visits, it's only things like running errands. Once or twice you show up and he just has no use for it. He just waves you off.
That's fine.
How much does Ekon talk about this man and what he makes you do?
I mean, not a small amount. Or not, I don't ignore it. Like, I definitely talk. Everyone here is definitely I probably tell this story when I head back home at some point.
Do you complain about him, or do you just, like, as a matter of fact?
It's very matter-of-factly. It's like, well, again, Ekon's opinion is that this guy kind of... for all the trouble he's giving us, I'm pretty sure he's earned the place he has in the church at this point. It's not my place to question that.
We're sitting there eating breakfast, and Jeannie's, like, shoveling oatmeal in her mouth, and she looks at you, and she says, "You are the worst storyteller I have ever heard."
Well, now, this is we're going to have to nail this down. Are you guys taking a private breakfast, just the two of you, or are you joining the family table for breakfast and telling this story and having this exchange? Because when the family breakfast, everybody comes to the family table. You don't have to; it's not a requirement. But if you are telling the story at the family table, I mean, Ruby and Nigel are always there. The children
no, I'd only be telling this to basically the people my age. Okay. Not my siblings, but my cousins.
I guess we're just eating dinner, eating lunch or something out in the
out
in the yard or something.
Orson is 15. Is he old enough to hear these stories by your reckoning?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm 15.
Oh, that's well. I guess I thought that Ekon saw himself as more mature than his age.
Oh,
he does. He absolutely does.
Okay.
Ekon is 15 going on 40.
I forgot about that.
Orson says that not only would he have brought the old Aethar a woman, he would have asked if he could have brought one for himself, too. He said that's definitely the way to have played this.
Victor makes the crass joke that you should have brought the woman and asked to join him. On the other hand, maybe you're making the wrong argument against this guy.
You gotta, and then like Jeannie's just giving you a hard time about like your totally dry academic recounting of your life. You gotta spice it up a little bit. You got like you're telling a story, man. Come on.
Evie does an aside to Orson like you're spending too much time with Lugren.
Ekon, listen, Ekon. So you're a smart guy, right? You're good. You're really good at this church stuff, but you're trying to make religious arguments to this guy who has been in this environment far longer than you. You're probably not going to win those arguments. But think about from this standpoint, right? He's older than you. He has a reputation established. People kind of know who he is. It sounds like his reputation's probably not in the best spot. Maybe you should make arguments against like his legacy or his reputation. He doesn't want people to look at himself any worse than they already do. And so things like bringing a woman to his bed, while it may be okay in terms of the church, what are people going to think about him if he starts doing that on top of the drinking and everything else?
I mean, you haven't talked to him, but I don't think he cares. I think that's the worst approach to take with him.
I mean, maybe he just...
If he cared, he wouldn't have acted this way.
He could just be fucking with you.
Oh, that's fair. I miss that one sometimes. You're definitely right.
I mean, he's clearly been around for a while. He's not in this position because the church hates him. But if you can plant the ideas in his head that his behaviors might lead to him being put on the street, maybe
I mean,
he'll
they
stop
will.
making such ridiculous requests.
Does anybody except Victor attend regular mass at the cathedral along with Ekon?
Is this the one that's in Old Aetherine?
That's your choice. Every 13th day is Ayer's Day, and that's when they have like the big to-do where everybody dresses up and goes. But there's smaller masses along the way. Like they hold a mass every day for anybody who wants to show up.
I think Evie goes as much as decorum requires, but no more than that.
Yeah, bare minimum.
You notice that's exactly how often that Nigel and Ruby attend.
Yeah, so we probably all just go together then.
Okay. Notably, Valerie and Denny are often absent when the family makes the journey up to the cathedral every 13th day. And Lugrin goes, but he's almost always hungover from the night before.
Well, of course Valery wouldn't go. He's an unseelie bastard.
I don't think anyone expects any better from Denny.
It's definitely stuck in Ruby's craw.
Mm.
And
does she want us to do something about it?
she wants
like,
Ekon to do
Denny's...
something about it.
Okay. Because
Okay.
Denny's definitely not going to listen to me.
How old was Denny again?
Denny's 24, so he's Ruby's age.
Right.
And he's never listened. Like the whole, you probably didn't know him very well before the journey from South Warren.
Mm-hmm.
But he had nothing to say to you the entire time. He was
Okay.
And even now that you guys are established here in the manor, he sees himself as the most important person in the house, and he's always got something to do somewhere else. He's not been helping much with the construction of the place. You've heard from gossiping servants and things that he's constantly behind closed doors. He's constantly arguing with Ruby about the way that things are being handled.
He's plotting with Valery for which of us to kill next, obviously.
I think Evie's very frustrated with Denny, but doesn't feel like she can do anything about it.
Valery, for his part, has taken up residence elsewhere in the city. He's found some flat that he's rented out, and he has as much money as he wants. Nigel begrudges him absolutely nothing, but you also catch wind that Valery is doing just odd jobs around the city. Like if some other manor house had to hire on a couple of dickheads to live in their basement and make sure monsters don't come up through a hole, that's the kind of job that Valery would take.
He's gonna join the cult and plot against us. I'm telling you guys, he's done it before. He's the reason my parents are dead.
Chill out, man.
Is this what Victor actually is saying?
Victor constantly makes remarks about how Valery is gonna kill one of us next.
The family is pretty evenly split on Valery. The family as a whole, I mean, all across South Warren. Half of the house sees him as like a hanger-on that only has the standard of living he does because he's Nigel's friend. The other half is like every major house has family friends. Like nobody gets through this alone, and he has the tragedies that have befallen him that he survived. They weren't his fault.
So Victor's, you know how some people will tell you to take a long walk off a short pier?
Right.
Victor tells you to go on expedition with Valery.
So Victor does not think very highly. So Victor's probably then relieved that Valery has decided to live elsewhere.
He's relieved and he's also highly suspicious.
Okay. So your guys' actual contact with Valery is as much or as little as you personally want.
I think Evie's probably a little bitter towards Valery because her brother also died.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how she really feels about him.
On a separate expedition. That was a
Yeah.
that was a different excursion entirely.
Edie's fine with him. He grew up around, and he's friends with Dad. So
Ekon just kind of looks at him as kind of like a lost soul.
Okay.
Like he thinks he clearly has a lot of problems, but there's a lot of good reasons for those problems. So Ekon doesn't necessarily begrudge him.
So the family split on him.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Exactly.
I mean, present family, it looks like you're the only one who's pro Valery.
I don't dislike him. I mean, I'd probably end up defending him if everyone else is bad mouthing him.
Okay.
I'm pretty neutral on him, but I think he gets a bad rap.
Evie's not going to assume he's going to join a cult and kill us, but she's not going to, like, if bad things start happening, she's not going to say, oh, we can count on Valery to help us out. He'll save us.
Nigel would tell you could count on Valery for anything if the cult came knocking. So Valery is around the house pretty frequently because Nigel, he'll bring him over for nightcaps, and Nigel's making new friends and contacts in the city. So that means Valery is making new friends and contacts in the cities. Even though he's a low-born man, he's hobnobbing with the upper crust now pretty much as often as he wants. Okay.
I get to show my gun off now.
Evie.
Yes? How can I help?
Go ahead and give me that animal handling check.
All right. Whose dice? I'm just gonna requisition this die.
I'm
Just grab the die.
I'm gonna give you a couple of choices here.
Okay.
Because this is something that you and Jeannie are conspiring together with, which means you're the one who's extending this invitation.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have the option of what kind of horseback riding you want to do. Like you could travel to one of the more open manors, or even somewhere on the mainland if you take the whole day, to go to somebody's ranch and just make a social call and do some riding through their gardens, or something a little more strenuous.
Such as?
Such as running through like a woodland or an athletic course.
Hmm.
In other words, I guess the choice is, are you trying to make this comfortable for Donique, or are you trying to pull her out of her element a little bit?
That's a great question.
I know.
I'll leave that up to you. I think, like, I know you said we're conspiring on this, but like, I think Jeannie's involvement was like, just get her away for a little bit. Like, it's just a pat on the shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, taking her somewhere strenuous would be like a kind of a tweak her nose kind of a little thing. I'm not sure Evie's horsemanship is going to be up to that, though.
Could go either way. You could tweak her nose, or it might backfire, and she'll totally show you up.
Yeah, I can't risk having this woman show me up. So let's just do something a little safer.
Hey,
So
you know
ride
what?
through the gardens and things. Then.
No.
What? I'm listening.
I've got 4 blips. This sounds like exactly the kind of dumb thing that I would like to use my blips for.
Oh, okay then. If you're offering your blips,
So, but you have to roll first, because if you just freaking nail it, I won't have to use my blips.
yeah, that's fine. Okay. Let's do something Let's do something a little more rigorous then.
Okay. So there is a friend of a more minor family associated with the Ambersons owns some woodlands just on the other side of the ferry. A day or so ride to the west from where Victor is heading out with you, because he needs to go visit this land for the 3rd time in 3 weeks to check some new paperwork that's surfaced that's becoming a real headache.
Sounds like Victor.
So the 3 of you are boarding the ferry together, taking it across the lake to the southern bank, where you're then going to split up and go your separate ways.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they have a woodland course there where it's riding for sport, but it's kind of like the Black Diamond of horseback riding kind of thing.
Oh.
Where there's like hurdles to jump and cliffs to ride alongside, and a heavily wooded area, so you have to be really accustomed to riding. And Donique doesn't flinch. I mean, she has her riding habit, and like up until now, you've only seen her like ride side saddle in a dress, but no, she's decked out. She's ready. In fact, she does seem a little surprised this is something that you would have invited her to.
Oh, Evie. I mean, she's wearing like nice riding clothes. Like she knows how to ride, but this course may be like, I mean, she probably says like, oh, we have mountain riding on South Warren, but I've never seen a course like this. I'm really interested to see how you ride here in the Holy City.
You know what I'm picturing is in Final Fantasy 15, when you go to the Chocobo course and you race against your party members and they talk shit to you. And then you find out that out of nowhere, Ignis is the best Chocobo rider in existence for no reason. Yeah, let's make... So, you're going to make this riding check. So we're gonna call this. Like, this would fall under like vehicles land based. We're gonna say.
So I'm not applying animal handling.
No, but you can roll add advantage because you are trained in animal handling, and so is she. So you're just rolling against her to see who rides the course better.
Okay, so is this dexterity or what?
I would say you could either use strength or dexterity.
Okay, I'm going to use dexterity then because my strength is very bad. Okay, and I get advantage on this?
Yes.
Okay, so. Okay, that's an 11. Here's the second roll.
You have to beat a 21.
Oh, I do not beat it. I did not beat 21.
Okay, well, that's 4 blips for me to get
I
him
guess-
the auto success.
I guess I do beat 21. Thanks, Treble.
You're welcome.
So
This,
that
like I said, this
brings-
seems like the kind of dumb thing that's right out.
Treble down to 0 blips. Oh, I
I mean,
can't
they're
wait
only
to-
worth 60.
Yeah, it's
So-
not worth a lot of experience right now.
Can't wait to spring to combat on you later. You ride the course, and she's definitely. It's like you guys are in this weird competition where each of you is riding a little bit above your comfort level and trying to show the other up.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, you definitely feel better about the situation. She's clearly a little bit frazzled. You managed to lose her in the woods a couple of times. There was one situation where her horse threw a shoe after she got somewhat entangled with a hurdle with a low fence, and you guys had to circle back and you had to help her out. And she's impressed with how well you rode, and the end of the day is very exhausting.
She also rode well, so I'm not going to be smug about it. Like, just hey, good ride. Like, Evie probably wasn't expecting her to be as good a horseman as she's shown herself to be. So mutual respect.
So you guys are gone for the day.
Mhm.
Victor,
Yes.
House Nuckton is the older and smaller house. House Nuckton Rossley is a newer branch of the house that is much wealthier. And they both own extensive vineyards and gardens on their land. They grow luxury items. They're not growing fields of wheat. And this particular little copse of citrus trees is especially valuable. For some reason, this one spot in this one area has just the right soil composition for about 20 or 30 trees that bear fruit during season. And both houses have the knowledge of preserving fruit using ancient house secrets that they probably have throughout the year. Whichever house has the claim to this tree, neither one actually needs it for their own enterprises. Neither one is going to be destitute or go hungry. But whichever one will have more political clout in Brennanine, because they're the ones that will be able to sell oranges and limes off-season. Nuckton is the older house, but Nuckton Rossley is wealthier. And from all of your investigations, it really looks like the most beneficial thing for both parties is, and you have, after visiting the grounds a few times, you have no idea why they haven't already done this very obvious thing. Why neither house is large enough to really merit being split up. Why don't they just merge the lands together under one house and one patriarch, rather than try to maintain two separate families? They'd make more money, they'd put an end to this dispute. They both get to enjoy the fruits of each other's labor. To you, that seems like an obvious solution, but they're not amenable to it.
So, two things. First thing is I will attempt to talk to each of them individually to find out why they are so opposed to merging, because obviously there's a reason they haven't done it.
Mm-hmm.
And second, just how much do they hate the idea of splitting the field in half? Since both of them seem to claim equal ownership to it.
Again, you're not here to negotiate to split the land in half. I mean, you could float the idea, but they
Yeah,
both insist that their documentation says they own all of the trees.
And so, with the documentation,
Mm-hmm.
are there any signs of forgery in the documentation? Any documents that are clearly? I mean, they keep finding older and older documents, but
Absolutely,
which
on both sides. And I mean, when the case came to your table, it came to you with a history of so-and-so brought this document forward, and I had to throw it out because it's clearly a forgery. And like we carbon dated this one, and it turns out like it was signed under magical duress, and so had to be excommunicated for doing it 70 years ago, but the document never got destroyed. There's all kinds of foul play on both sides trying to maintain control of these trees.
Does Victor have any indication of foul play aside who actually seems to have the stronger claim?
It's up in the air. I mean,
So
if you're just going from a standpoint of ancestry, that would be House Nukton, but ancestry isn't everything, because the Nukton Rossleys are the wealthier of the two houses. They have more friends at court.
And so if we look at, historical records and historical documents that are not owned by these two houses, is there any mention of this Orange Grove or how it came to be or where it was or
There
how
is
actually?
quite a lot of mention over the years by lots of quote-unquote disinterested third parties who on further inspection are not disinterested at all. It's one house or the other. Like if Nukton controls the trees this year, they pay off such and such a house at court by throwing them a big party and bringing oranges. And this goes back and forth. This has been going on for about 60 years.
And did the split of the Nukton Roslin house become initiated because of something related to these trees?
No, just a lesser son of, or a lesser daughter of the Nuktons was married off to the Rossleys, which is a wealthier family that didn't own as much land, that were better able to manage their side of the business and became the wealthier branch of the house. This would kind of be like if Edmont and Ekon's branch of House Veritas suddenly came into vast wealth and success and wanted to be the main branch of the house.
So it kind of sounds like the Nukton Roslins came into being and they were like, hey, we got money, but we're greedy, so we want this orange grove for us too.
Could be.
So there's no clear evidence one way or the other, regardless of how much effort is put into researching this topic.
There is the main point of contention seems to be that the trees may or may not have been part of that marriage dowry generations ago. There's a lot of documentation on both sides of the issue. And it's just a headache. There's no way out of the situation. It's a room with no exits. And every time you go out there, because you're the probably 10th or 11th person that's been working this case over the years, and it's firing up again because it's almost harvest season, and we need to know who's controlling the grove this season.
And how much am I being bribed with?
That's an excellent question. Which of the two families are you courting? Because, I mean, if you're trying to play both sides, they're going to find out almost immediately, and you're just another untrustworthy bureaucrat at that point.
So, given that there's no hard evidence that these trees were actually part of the dowry, in the light of such conflicting information, and since the Nukton Roslin house is already wealthier and more powerful than their other branch, if the two houses cannot come to an agreement over either joining a house or sharing the grove, then Victor would side with the Nukton house. But before picking a side, he wants to get a better picture of why are these two houses so opposed to just rejoining into a single house.
Make an investigation check. You can either call this intelligence investigation or charisma investigation. It's your call. This will...
Oh, it's not going to matter.
Whether you're trying to get the information from studying and examining their documents, or whether you're trying to get the information by interviewing them.
Gets me a 21.
21. Did you go with intelligence or charisma?
Intelligence.
Okay. As far as you can tell, the marriage was very contentious on both sides of the family. The Rothlins were the wealthier house in coin, but the Nuctons owned more land. And the Rothlins' side of the family was able to better manage their land. So the Nuctons' view is that the Roslins married into our family, whereas the Rosleys' view is the Nuctons married into ours. And there's a blood feud on both sides. You definitely get the sense with that roll that if it wasn't this grove of citrus trees, it would be something else. This is not a problem that a surveyor can solve. They need therapy.
I need Athar.
So, on that note of Athar, what is Church's policy over forcibly seizing land from houses?
This is a grievous sin. That's one
So
of
the
one
church-
of the things
the
that's
church-
covered in that document I went through.
So the church never comes along and says, we're going to take control of this property?
I'm not going to say they never do it, but I mean, in this case, there's not cause.
Okay.
This is if you were to bring this to the church, they'd be like, "This is not our business. This is a family issue between them. It's a legal issue. Let somebody else figure it out." So the main question for Victor is, it's whether or not Victor wants to try to profit from this.
Victor, given the circumstances, given that if it's not going to be this orange grove, it'll be something else. So even if Victor is able to perfectly solve this orange grove situation and get everybody to agree that the grove belongs to one house versus the other, they're going to start fighting over something else.
Probably.
So in light of that, Victor is absolutely going to try and profit.
Okay, so your stance is then that House Nucton controls the grove because they have the ancestral claim and the marriage itself was contentious. Do I have that right?
Well, the other way is that if the Nuctons are able to better manage their land, then the grove stands a longer term chance of success if it's with the Roslins.
True.
And the Roslins have more money. So in terms of reputation, who has the stronger reputation between these two houses?
I mean, they're both relatively small houses in Brennany. Neither of them maintain grounds inside of the Holy City, but they do a lot of trade with the city. And they're well known because, like I said, they grow a lot of luxury materials. They have nut orchards and lots of fruits, a small vineyard. So they do a good trade, and both houses are in good standing in the city.
And do both houses seem like they have the lineage and children to continue for a long while?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, one decision one way or the other is not going to break one of these houses. This grove has been going back and forth for generations.
So in terms of House Veritas, is House Veritas more in need of friends or more in need of money right
Sounds
now?
like that's the decision you need to make.
Well, so have we been having any since this move and since our move to Brennanine, right? Have we been having any financial issues yet? Or are we still pretty well off? Ruby hasn't been walking around complaining about we're spending too much money, we're going to be broke.
No, that's not likely a concern. Considering you guys, I mean, Veritas comparably would be poorer than some of the main houses in Brennanine, but you guys are one of the major houses in South Warren. The place where you come from is considered a backwater, but you're still an exceptionally wealthy house. The more pressing concern for Ruby would be trying to gain social standing in Brennanine.
Yeah.
That would be where you guys are going to struggle.
Yeah, and so given that, and given the fact that Nucton already has more money, Victor is going to, Rosalind, Victor is going to side with Nucton to kind of even out the scales a little bit, and hope that being the older house, they have more social connections. It'll be a little more beneficial than just getting some extra money, which we already have plenty of.
Maybe a religion check.
I hate these dice. That would be a 5.
5, okay. And you're the one that's going to like the weird Latin mass.
Just because he speaks, it doesn't mean he understands.
So you get all the documents together, and you've decided that for the upcoming season, reviewing all the evidence, House Nukton controls the Grove. And what kind of bribe are you expecting for this?
He's honestly not sure. He's not sure if they're going to offer him money, if they're going to offer him introductions, if they're going to offer him fruit worth a crap load of money, or he's not sure what he's going to get. But he's assuming that given there's such contention over this, somebody's going to offer him something.
Well, they tell you that when you resolve it to their satisfaction, that they know they certainly made a friend with House Veritas, who they always considered to be an old and noble house, and they're glad that they're establishing themselves here in Brennanine. In fact, it seems to them that Brennanine could use more noble houses of Veritas' stature, and that in the coming fall and winter months, Veritas will not be one of the houses that is incapable of putting together an array of fine citrus fruits at their winter soirees.
Fruit baskets procured.
Hey, this is one time a fruit basket's a good thing.
So that's the third time you go out to visit. The fourth time you go out to visit, so probably a week or so later, the task today would be to take the people from Nukton, from House Nukton, to actually walk the land where you have their survey, the most recent one that you've just completed, to walk the land to show like where the stone fence needs to be moved to. And when you do that, you find they're in very, very sour mood because the Nukton Rosleys have burned the entire grove.
Didn't see that one coming.
Well then, I can't say I'm that surprised. So every single tree has been burned completely.
They set fire to the grove. One or two trees remain standing to bear fruit for the upcoming harvest. But just as you arrive, the situation seems incredibly tense. And that's when we're going to go to somebody else for a minute. Jeannie.
Huh.
So your sister and your cousin and Donique leave on the ferry. And Trieste arrives for the day to show her around the manor grounds.
And
Then what happens?
I'll look at her. Like, we'll get about, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes into the tour of the grounds and things like that, which I'm pretty sure it's stuff she's seen before. And then I'll lean over to her. It's like, so, do you want to see my workshop?
Oh, you're going to take her downstairs into the workshop?
Yeah.
So remember, part of the reason... let me load up that map. So when the rabbits show back up... I guess I can just get rid of this fog of war now. You guys have seen all of it. So officially, the question of whether you guys own this space is not resolved entirely yet. So officially, you're not supposed to be bringing people down here. This would be a kind of... It's not that you're not supposed to. It's just this is the kind of thing that you know Donique would love to gossip about. Did you guys hear that House Veritas has a secret dungeon under their dog kennels? Scandalous.
I mean, like, if I've been instructed not to take anybody down there, I won't.
You haven't been, but this is just
Okay.
something that you kind of understand. I mean, from what Victor has told you, you've pretty much legally got it sewn up. I mean, you feel comfortable setting up your workshops down here. There's people on your payroll who are not members of the family who work down here as guardsmen. So it's kind of an open secret, but Trieste doesn't know about it yet, and she and her sister are both big gossips.
So, like, one of the things that, like, if I can, I would have put a door across here to kind of... Because this is, like, these two rooms are the only ones that Jeannie is currently using.
Yeah, it's fine.
Like, so So there's a door. So it's basically like this, and she brings her down here, and just smithing and like various arcane experiments and things like that. Like several prototypes sitting in the corner.
And what kind of firearm do you actually have down here?
So it's not a real firearm.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be the Arcane Firearm. It's essentially the Arcane Firearm is essentially just a modified wand, rod, or staff. And like Jeannie pulls out this this rod, and she puts it on the table, and it's like this column. She goes, "This is my prototype," and it's a rod that's like it's like a hollow metal tube, and it's got like 2 prongs on the end.
Is there like a stat block for this item?
No, it's just a staff. Like it's just a rod. It's just a regular art. Yeah, it's just normal spell focus.
Okay.
Just a normal. It's currently just it's an enhanced spell focus because of the infusion, but
Sure.
yeah.
What infusion?
Enhanced spell focus.
Is this in Tasha's?
Yeah, it's one of the Artificer spell infusions.
I'm just trying to get a sense of what this thing can do.
It +1 to +1. It's +1 to attack rolls, and it ignores cover.
And it's a ranged weapon?
Not a weapon. It's a spell focus.
Okay. Because you said you were going to show her your gun.
I don't actually have a gun. Like like the thing is I'm turning this into a gun.
Ah.
Like it's a prototype for a new kind of gun.
So it doesn't fire yet.
I mean, it fires in the sense that it shoots. I can shoot magic out of it.
Can only you shoot magic out of it?
I mean, right now he goes, well, how about this? And then like I'll pull over the corner, and I've got like these half, like these half little like built arcane turrets that are in like 1,000 pieces.
And she's very interested in all the splendid toys you're showing her.
Mm-hmm. And I'll ask her. I says, you seemed very interested in this before. Is there? I have some guild contacts in the city. Do you want to? Is there anything you'd be interested in seeing?
She tells you that her father, when she was younger, took them to an archery contest. But she describes it as archery, but it's clearly some manner of firearms that she's describing. Because the sound and the splendor of the bangs are what really excited her. And one of the targets caught fire. And as you're walking through your workshop here, she's showing interest, but you can tell she's showing polite interest. Like, she thought you were going to have something flashier than just the little toys that you've shown her so far.
Hmm.
Make an insight check.
It's a 15.
A 15? She would never come right out and say this, but if she felt it were socially acceptable to do so, she would ask you to fire a gun.
And Jeannie says, you know what? Hold on. So does Nigel have any firearms?
That's a very, very good question. So we've established that Nigel is an adventurer of some renown, but we haven't actually established like what his adventuring class is. Does anybody feel like they have a dog in this race? Or we can.
I thought we agreed he was going to be a level 20 fighter.
A level 20 fighter?
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly possible he has some rogue in his DNA.
Nah, yeah, I wanted to say like a multi-class rogue, maybe, I don't know, wizard, or obviously no. Oh, actually, you know what? No, he could be like a multi-class rogue with a bunch of noble levels.
I mean,
So, like,
sounds to
when
me
he
like
goes adventuring, like, what does he pack? Like, what are his weapons? Would he be the type of adventurer who would use a firearm?
Honestly, yes.
Yes. I think everyone here is in
Yes.
agreement on that.
So, to be clear, when I say firearm, these are not in
You
the
mean, like,
player's
actual-
handbook, but the DMG does have stat blocks for firearms in the back.
Yeah, it's like he's got like a musket or a pistol or a flintlock or
Which
something.
is
He carries,
exactly
like,
what
a
he would have.
Yeah, he carries like a flintlock and isn't there like a stat block for a blunderbuss too?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking up right now.
I was
definitely
using a
has a
musket in the last
blunderbuss.
campaign.
Yeah.
And a pip helmet.
Bear with me just 1 second here.
Like I personally would kind of like it sounds to me like he might be like a he actually might be some kind of multi-class artificer, to be honest.
Think so. You know, Indiana Jones 3, kind of like Sean Connery. he's like a mix between Sean Connery and your stereotypical British big game hunter guy.
Yeah, I think that's what we were going for sure.
Nigel Thornberry. Smashing.
I thought the index had firearm stats in the DMG. Am I misremembering? I don't see them now.
Yeah, they're in there.
Yeah, they're in the DMG. I don't know what page. I just wrote down the ones for the gun.
They are on. Ooh.
I think for the kind of work that House Veritas does, I think Rogue, we probably over-index on Rogues compared to other houses.
267.
Or maybe Rangers.
Yeah, I'm thinking like high intelligence, high dexterity, rogue, noble with a lot of the utility magic. And a gun is a useful thing if you just want to fire once and don't want things to be quiet. Like, you can still sneak attack with it.
It's not as far
once
to the
they know
back
where you
as I
are.
thought. Okay. So the firearms table actually gives 3 different sections. One for like Renaissance era firearms, which would be appropriate for this setting. One for modern firearms, which definitely would not. And one for futuristic firearms, which you're only going to find if you guys manage to blunder your way back into Baba Yaga's hut.
We're waiting for that trilogy.
There's always the barrier peaks. Or is it White Plume Mountain? I forget which one.
It's Barrier Peaks. I have that
Barrier
book.
Peaks, okay.
I kind of want to buy that. You said it was a good read?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I like it.
So the gun we're talking about, and this is very similar to the 2nd edition Arquebus, which is where I got the optional rule from, where like a musket, it has the loading and two-handed properties, which I remember Alex just waived the loading property because he was firing magical rounds anyway. But in 2nd edition D&D, which has an Arquebus, if you roll a critical fail on your to-hit roll with your firearm, which is if you roll a 1 on the d20, it explodes in your hand. So yeah, Nigel has a musket. By default, are these considered martial weapons, I wonder?
The Artificer specifically can start as proficient if they're in a world. They're the only class that starts with it. Oh, but you're not an Artificer level 1.
If firearms are common in the world, I think they are considered martial weapons, but I don't know how that
Yeah, there's
works
no...
in
I mean,
the
there's
setting.
there's simpler martial, but those I'm pretty sure they're martial.
Yeah, I'm just checking the page to see if there's an actual ruling in the DMG on that.
Mhm.
I would say that they're considered martial weapons. So if you have, you'd have to take a feat or train up a skill to do it. So if you have a skill slot or a proficiency that you haven't used up yet, we could say that Genie is already proficient in using firearms.
I mean, I didn't gain any additional when I took levels in Artificer. I didn't gain any additional weapon
Okay.
weapon proficiencies.
So here's the deal. Nigel would definitely let you play with his musket, but up to this point in your life, you haven't shown any actual interest or aptitude in learning how to fire it.
Huh?
So, if you want to show Trieste Nigel's musket, you're going to have to sneak it out of his study. He has it on display, and you know how to get a hold of the balls and the gunpowder.
I mean, she just wants. I got the hint that she just wants to see somebody shoot a gun, right?
Oh, she wants to fire a gun.
Oh, she wants to fire a gun. Yeah,
Very
okay.
responsible thing for children to be doing.
She likes your little toys and things. She thinks you're doing excellent work. She's very intrigued, but she's also being very polite. Because when you pitched it earlier, you asked if either of them...
I told you I was building a gun.
Right.
I didn't say I had a gun. I said I was building a gun.
And it's very
Somewhat.
nice. So are you going to try to swipe Nigel's gun and let this girl fire it?
Why would I have to swipe it? You said Nigel would just let me borrow it.
He would if you were proficient in firing it.
Okay.
Otherwise, well, because I mean, Nigel is a reckless man, but he's not so reckless that he's going to let you play with a dangerous weapon if he thinks you're going to hurt yourself with it. You are his precious daughter, after all.
He's got a spare.
But he's also not the most careful man in existence, so it would be very easy to just go up to his study when he's not at home and.
You know what? Yeah. Let's be impulsive. Let's do it.
All right. So you tell Trieste that, I mean, stories of Nigel precede him into Brennanine.
Mm-hmm.
Him and his musket. And his study, I imagine, has trophies and things that he's won over the years, relics, and the stuffed heads of great beasts that he's slain. And yeah, sure enough,
rabbit.
he has a weapons case, and you have no difficulty getting hold of gunpowder in your profession.
Hmm?
So where are you going to take her to fire this gun?
I mean, just... I'll take her back down here,
Okay.
and I'll open this... Well, I don't know. Back down here might be a bad idea, because it's in close space, loud weapon.
It's also a question of lighting. I'm going to assume that your two workshops are well lit, and I'm going to assume that the room with the hole is well lit at all times because you've got men in there guarding.
She might know this. Is there a shooting range nearby? Like,
No.
is there an actual?
This is Brennany, not contemporary America. You're not just going to go
No,
to a shooting range.
No, I mean like a well, not
You
a
can have
shooting
one
range
constructed on your grounds. Like you could have some of the servants draw out hay bales and put targets on them
Yeah, okay.
on your grounds.
Yeah, we'll just put. Hey, I'll just. I mean, I don't mind doing it. I'll just get some hay bales and
Okay.
stick a piece of paper on it with a big red circle.
So what do you tell? I mean, you're gonna. There's. How are you going to explain this to your other servants? I mean, this is definitely going to draw some attention on the grounds.
Well, we've only got to. Says just tell her I'm just telling them I'm conducting a test.
Conducting a test?
Yeah.
So, how would the servants take that? Like, do they know to vacate the area?
Probably.
Like, you're going to set something on fire or leave a crater?
Probably.
I'll remind you the number of fingers his retainer has.
That's true. All right, so you set up a hay bale, and Trieste is very excited for this. And you're doing this in the middle of the day, so a lot of the actual, like, authority figures in the family, they're not around right now. Probably the only person who's actually in the house would be Elisabetta, who is busy with the children, and probably Lady Feza, who is probably upstairs entertaining guests or something. So you're on the grounds somewhere. Why don't we actually show me on the grounds where you're gonna...
Well, I think that I would, so my workshop is over here.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably set it up, like set the bales up, like up against something that would, over in this corner, but up against something where like the bullet wouldn't go through if it pierced through the hay bale.
Okay.
Basically, just over here in the corner. But
So
like,
kind of out of the way of things then. Like you're not going to do it right in the middle of the thoroughfare between the stables and.
no,
All right.
no. I think that Jeannie is cognizant enough of the fact that metal ball go fast.
Make me an straight intelligence check. Do not add your proficiency because you're not proficient with this weapon. And make this a disadvantage because not only do you not know how to use this weapon properly, but you're trying to instruct somebody else in how to safely fire it.
I don't think I've ever been more terrified in a D&D game than I am right now.
That is a 12.
A 12.
Mhm.
I bet you wish you still had some blips.
Does anybody else want to help me?
So, I mean, are you going to demonstrate by firing first? Or are you just going to show her how it's done?
I'll demonstrate by firing first.
Make a hit roll. Just it's still it's a dexterity roll because it's a ranged weapon, but you're not proficient in the weapon, so don't add your proficiency.
18.
18? Yeah, you have no trouble leveling the musket. I mean, you've probably fired once or twice in your life, being Nigel's daughter over the years, and you know that you're gonna build. You're like, I'm just gonna build my own magic gun. It's gonna be awesome. Yeah, you lower the gun, take aim, and pull the trigger, and there's a loud bang and bright muzzle flash as the balls shoot out, impacts the hay bale on the other side with a very just satisfying impact to it, knocking it aside, and you're being overly cautious and safe with the situation because they don't penetrate all the way through the hay and nothing catches fire. And you're
One thing that I would do before she fired
yeah,
is I would insist she wear at least some safety gear.
like what?
Like, maybe some padded armor.
Did you wear any?
I'm wearing my breastplate. I'm wearing my normal armor.
Okay. Well, so she would not agree to wear anything that you didn't just wear. But I mean, she's never worn breastplate before.
Right. So
you're gonna skin off your
Yeah.
breastplate and strap it on.
I'll take my breastplate and gauntlets off and strap her in, and I'm pretty sure it'll enhance the experience as well.
And this is all. She's very tittering, and she's very act like it's all very scandalous. And of course, you could never tell Donique about this adventure, but she says it with an inflection to her voice that kind of implies that she's going to immediately tell Donique all about it.
Right.
And you go over. I mean, you make sure that she's pointing the musket at the sky while you go over and right the hay bale back up. And the target's shredded on one side. And you come back.
And she shot herself and dead.
And she lowers the gun just like you did. Just poking her tongue out of the side of her mouth and closing one eye to line up the shot.
I'm going to stop her and say, put your tongue back in your mouth. You don't want to bite it off.
It's overly cautious. And now she makes it to hit roll.
Please roll a 1.
If it rolls a 1, she's probably going to die. The blowback from firing the weapon throws her backwards, bodily off her feet. She lands hard on her rump. There's a clatter, as you can tell, is like the shot of the gun. She wasn't expecting to feel it all up in her arms and her torso. And she misses the hay bale entirely. And you see some scattered leaves as one of the trees behind. And then you hear a voice from over behind your back fence call out in anguish, "Ah!" And now seems like an excellent time to take our 15-minute break. What do you think?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's take 15 minutes. Go ahead and get your coffee, get your bagel. We will reconvene at 4:30.